Spend the week with me as somebody who quit their job, left New York to have a gap year in her 30s, and is now living in Vietnam for the next month. This week was a little different than others because I spent 4 days in the mountains of Vietnam. What? If you told me a couple of months ago that I was doing this, I wouldn't have believed you. Doing what's called the Ha Giang Loop, and now that I've done it, this should have been on my bucket list a long time ago. Y'all see Claire, she was the one that worked overtime to convince me to do this. To know me is to know I am not an outdoorsy girl at all. I'm actually terrified of being on the back of somebody's motorbike. I was completely out of my comfort zone here. Mind you, it was freezing the entire time and there was no heat. The homestays that we were staying in, so we were roughing it. When I did my little TikTok research on this before I came, biggest thing people are talking about are the views, the scenic route, like all of that. All the views were tea. Me, that was the least interesting part. Literally driving through the mountains for 4 days, and this is the home to the ethnic minorities of Vietnam. For me, it was something about getting to see how they live, how they work, how they eat, how they commune with each other. That was the highlight of my experience. Y'all see me as playing with these little kids. I was having such a good time with them. One of the reasons I decided to do a gap year was because I was exhausted from work. I was burnt out, and I also recognized how much of a priority what I did for a living was to me. If you ever lived in New York or ever visited New York, you know you get the question, what you do for a living, every 2 seconds. Here I am spending 4 days in the mountains of Vietnam, and I didn't get that question not one time. Eating the best food that I've ever had in Vietnam. I'm smiling and laughing more than I've ever had. Building bonds with new people. It's moments like this where you realize there is more to life than just working your 9-to-5 job. What you do for a living does not have to be your whole entire personality. Now, the last 2 days of our experience were probably my most favorite. I feel like that's when our group was bonding for real, for real. Most companies that do this experience offer big groups like 30, 40, 50 people. I would have been a little too overstimulated if that was the case. There were about 6 of us, including our guide. Stayed in the same homestay. We ate at the same time every night, had our happy water, which is basically Vietnamese liquor. Ate basically the same breakfast every morning, which I love. To do local experiences like going to see the market, which, oh my God, the dogs, I can't. The people in the group ended up trying some really interesting food. I tell you, they eat every single part of the animal, every part. Do not play with them. Can't believe in 4 days we covered 250 miles back of a motorbike. Coming from somebody who was terrified of being on a motorbike. Our last homestay was one of my favorites. It actually had heat. So, you know, we were really happy about that. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. On the last night, I got so emotional because this was our last time hanging out with our guys. They drove us around 250 miles. Really made this experience so much more enjoyable for us. Really made new friends on this experience, and I'm so happy I did it.